Hey folks, Nathan here for the third of our little mini Q&A episodes, and yes, they're all recorded on the same night. That's why I am wearing the same thing, and it is getting hot in this room. This time we pick up a few more questions from back when I originally asked for questions back in November of 2018 and just had folks put their questions in the comments of that particular video. I will in the future be grabbing commented questions from other videos in this particular mini Q&A series to kind of keep the ball rolling and constantly have content to make more of these little mini Q&As. Again, mini Q&A, M-I-N-I, not because of the length, because they're all seeming to be about the same length, maybe about 20 minutes, but because they have less questions covered and theoretically are shorter than when I do the longer Q&As for the vlog. But there hadn't been one of those in a while. It was going to be something to be a heck of an undertaking to do a giant one again. I want to do something a little bit quicker to give you content faster, content in more bite-sized form relative to those, and just give us a chance for a little bit more interaction here within the channel. So, that said, let's get into the questions for this time. The first question comes from 5 picoseconds, who says, Nathan, my dude. 5 picoseconds, my dude, or dudette, as the case may be. I don't know. Not gonna assume. Did you just assume mine? No, I did not. If from the Star Wars library, that's the one about the books, not the one about the home video stuff, my series earlier on, and that theoretically could come back if we ever get to the point of having a $500 threshold on Patreon met, but we're tending to hover around the $100 mark per month, so doesn't look like it's going to happen, but, you know, still is in there as a possibility, at least for now. Said, if that had made it to episode 3, as it made it to 2005 and the release of episode 3, would you have considered the novelization of Revenge of the Sith as essential reading? My answer to that is hell to the yes. This is actually one of my copies of it, my main copy of it right here. This is the limited edition signed one, signed by Matthew Stover on the inside somewhere. Where is that sign? Yeah, there you go. Signed and numbered and all. This is the book that actually, if you've listened to any of the podcasts that I'm on these days, or I think even back in the day with Chrono Radio, even, or the EU Review, there's a phrase that I use called the Stover effect. It's a term that I coined alongside alt legends. It was a whole different thing, but Pablo Hidalgo at least liked it. The idea of the Stover effect is that sometimes you have a main piece of art, a main entertainment item that you consume, like a movie, and you get an adaptation of it that adds so much or somehow enhances the experience so much by reading it that it doesn't feel like it's just an adaptation so much as it fundamentally transforms, to use President Obama's old term, it fundamentally transforms your experience of that film or of that whatever. There's a lot of stuff within this novelization that changed the way that I think I looked at Revenge of the Sith. I had a better experience watching Revenge of the Sith for the first time and on subsequent viewings, having listened to the audiobook of this prior to watching the film when it originally premiered in theaters. A lot of the stuff, like for instance, there's the whole petulance of Anakin thing. That's not fair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? In the film, it sounds like he's just a petulant little shit, and he just is ungrateful for the fact that now he's on the council, but he hasn't earned the rank of master, and he thinks that it should just be given to him, and it's just an entitlement thing. Well, maybe to some degree, but this makes it clear that one of the things that he thinks may be able to save Padme's life is hidden knowledge within the Jedi Temple archives that is only accessible to a master. Not a council member, but a master. So by not granting him the rank of master, that knowledge is forbidden. He thinks that's what's going to save Padme. He thinks basically they just screwed him out of what could have saved his wife's life. That's huge! But you don't get it in the film anywhere. And there's moments within this book that are things like, this is what it feels like to be Anakin Skywalker right now. It talks about the dragon as a metaphor for the changes that he's feeling inside and his anger. Fantastic stuff. I would actually say that reading the novelization of Revenge of the Sith is better than the film itself, even though I really enjoy the film. And if you've read the novelization and then watched the film, your experience will be enhanced, hence the Stover effect. So absolutely, I'd say it's essential reading. And that's not something I would usually say for novelizations. I would say for Star Wars, there are only 2 novelizations that really stand out as necessary reads to really get the most out of the film that they're adapting. That is Revenge of the Sith and The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi answers a few questions like, how in the hell is Rey able to use all these powers with no training all of a sudden? Well, it has to do with that time when she and Kylo were kind of pushing back and the whole, you'll never be as great as Darth Vader, and all that kind of stuff. And sort of how in that connection, it sort of unlocked something within her, but also within him, where some of his training, in essence, sort of got picked up by her, that it was actually something of a transference of knowledge as part of that. But you don't get that anywhere within the films. How would you explain that sort of thing unless it's a side conversation with a lot of exposition? The novelization does a great job of it and answers that and other questions that still linger about The Last Jedi for some people. So yeah, I would say The Last Jedi novelization by Jason Fry and Revenge of the Sith novelization by Matthew Stover are the two must-read, essential reading novelizations of Star Wars at this point. The next questions, two of them, come from EK Entertainment, who asks first, will you ever publish an updated version of a saga on home video, and when will you do more Battlefront 2 live streams? So I've got good news and bad news for you, EK. The good news is that yes, there will be a second edition of a saga on home video. I'm actually working on it now, but right now what I'm working on is the pictures. I had enough feedback from the first edition, enough of a positive response, and people saying, you know what, I would pay more because of the printing costs if this book could be in full color. So, I've purchased this. It's this giant light box. And I'm now using that light box in order to take color pictures with good lighting for the different products that are in the book. And then, of course, that'll be expanding to include more stuff, not just stuff that's been released since, but other oddball stuff that I've discovered, things that popped up from other markets in particular as comparisons to US stuff. So it'll be pretty sweet when I get the second edition of A Saga on Home Video, A Fan's Guide to US Star Wars Home Video Releases released. When is that going to be? My guess is not for another couple of years yet. Baby Cade is keeping me very, 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 very busy at this point. And as you may recall, so that we can have extra money, I wind up teaching summers also. So for me, breaks from teaching are basically 1 week stretches at most at different points of the year. So it's not like I have a big summertime of nothing where I would work on it. But once things kind of settle down a little bit, I do expect to get more pictures done and to start working on new content for that for the future. But couldn't say when it's going to come out. I would like to say 2019, but I kind of doubt it. My guess is probably 2020 or later. But hey, that would allow me to cover all of the sequel trilogy, so I guess it kind of works out that way anyway. As for new Battlefront 2 live streams, that's where I would say probably in for disappointment. My plan was not to do anymore, quite frankly. The game has gotten very stale for me. The new stuff that they have added has been okay, kind of few and far between, stretched a little thin as far as keeping my interest, and I'm a completist. When I play a game, I want to get everything. I don't necessarily go for the platinum trophy, that sort of thing, but I want to be able to get all the different options to play with. Like, if there are different unlockable character skins, I want the unlockable character skins. If there are unlockable bonuses, I want to get the unlockable bonuses. And the sheer amount of grinding you have to do to get just about any character skin without having to pay for it now for the heroic and villainous characters in Battlefront 2 has really put me off. Like, I look at it and I say, I don't even want to work towards that shit. I don't have a 40-hour work week worth of time to grind for a damn costume or a character skin. And I'm sure as hell not paying out of pocket for the prices they want for those kinds of cosmetics. So for me, between that and the fact that I had played the hell out of the game to the point where I was just bored with it, has caused me to step back from doing the Battlefront streams. I talked about that in the last stream or the last couple of streams. That said, assuming that I'm able to actually get some time where I know that I can stream, I may do a quick stream once all the Clone Wars stuff is in the game. I think maybe it actually had just dropped. I haven't even really looked into it. I'll need to before the next episode of Cloud City Casino. But even then, that's sort of a maybe, because most of the time when I'm here, I'm not here by myself. It's me and the baby. And if I'm streaming and the baby is here and the baby starts crying and needs a bottle or needs to be changed or something, I've got to stop and I've got to take care of him. And it makes for a very erratic streaming process. I'm sure that the people watching the stream would appreciate that and accommodate that and not be bothered by it in the least. But I feel like it's kind of rude on my part, you know? to do that. And I've had to do that before with like phone calls and things like that. So I don't know. There may be some of those in the near future for the new Clone Wars content, but if so, it'll be quick stuff to look at the Clone Wars content, and then that's it, because the game just bores the hell out of me now. I expected more content to eventually be added for the campaign. It has not happened beyond the original stuff that we got, and that story is pretty much done. That's what was really hooking me into the game. I'm not going to grind for all that stuff, so the incentive, speaking as an economics teacher, the incentive to play is not there, especially when I have other stuff I'm trying to get through, like the DLC missions for Spider-Man. I'm still playing Skyrim VR when I actually have a chance to put on the VR headset at all these days. I've got the new Tomb Raider game is just sitting in there that I haven't even started yet. I've got the Dark Souls trilogy that I'm a little bit into the first one, but not the other ones, so I haven't been punished enough yet. So yeah, Battlefront 2, unless something drastic happens with the Clone Wars stuff that actually starts holding my interest again, I don't see much in the way of streams for that. But I don't see much streams, at least for a little while anyway, just because the baby will be there constantly for the most part when I would try to do so. Okay, the next question comes from Donovan Wakefield, who asks, and in case you're wondering, I'm just looking down at the computer screen. Donovan Wakefield says, there have been many unofficial Star Wars media releases over the years. Many of them have good-looking packaging. Some Asian pirated old VCDs come to mind. Have you ever seen a fan-made custom box set of the Star Wars movies that looked really good? Yes, and I actually looked at one of those back on the episode that I did of From the Star Wars Home Video Library. It's the second time we're referencing this particular episode in the mini Q&As, which is Intermission 6, which is the one where I looked at the despecialized editions and other fan edits, and showed a despecialized edition set that somebody had sent me so that I could see it and sort of talk about it and whatnot. Though, if I remember correctly, that wound up being something that somebody else had put together. This person actually just printed it and pieced it together and sent out, and I think was also trying to sell them online, which crosses a line for me. Thankfully, that was not one that I had ever bought or paid for. So suffice to say, there's some pretty cool stuff out there. Where is that? There is a VHS tape sitting over here. Yes. This is the kind of stuff that I really love. I love it when we've got this obsolete media. We know that it's not going to be something released on that media that will then have these, alternate packages or bootlegs of them in these packages. I like it when you take something that is obsolete and use it. So now seeing people making VHS and Betamax and Laserdisc and even CED cases and labels for the modern Star Wars films, I think that is really awesome. So stuff like this Rogue One, it's not a tape in here, just a copy of the DVD bonus features, a spare copy. But, people have gone through a lot of work to make these case inserts in case you want it to look like that on the shelf. I think that kind of stuff is really cool. On the other hand, I guess the flip side of that, if you want to talk about like the bootleg type stuff that's out there, the fact that bootlegs are so prevalent now, so easy to manufacture, and you can trick people so easily, such as with the bootleg that I've referenced plenty of times, right? The 2015, the 2015, Blu-ray box set of the original films, right? This thing, and how this was released only on Blu-ray officially, and then bootleggers took the fact that there wasn't a DVD version and made a bootleg version of it that looked very official and had been selling it for years on places like eBay, Amazon Marketplace, and so on. Again, if you get a DVD copy of this, it's bullshit. There is no such thing. It is a bootleg. And most of the time, it's got discs that are bootleg copies on single-layer discs of the DVD releases from 2006 for the original trilogy and the original 2-disc releases for the prequel films. But that fact really kind of irks me, the fact that it is so easy to bootleg at this point. That said, though, back when it wasn't so easy to bootleg, people were still stupid. So I think back to like some of the early bootlegs that I saw, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's on the cover. Not even the wrong companies, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's on the cover. That kind of thing always amused me because that was just utterly ridiculous. I wouldn't say that's fan-made, but it was funny because it's just like, you know, of course, at least these are bootlegs that are not purporting to be anything other than they are, rather than these days where the bootlegs purport to be the real deal. I guess in the middle, you've got stuff like the bootlegs out there that for a while were the most prevalent before the Complete Saga set came out in 2015, where you've got the 5-star collection, right? You take the Star Wars films and put them in faked bootleg boxes that make it look like they're part of the 5-star collection that Fox did for stuff like Independence Day, and sell those, and they're like, oh my gosh, these are so rare, I've never seen 5-star. Yes, you haven't seen them because they're bullshit, because they're not real, but whatever. Bootlegs. So it's kind of the middle line, something that's obviously fake, even for someone who doesn't really have to know what format something was released in, and yet something that doesn't look as ridiculous as some of the earlier ones. So that's kind of where I go. It's either the retro stuff that's obviously not for a current product, but is based on a current movie, or looking back at the really stupid old bootleg types of things because they're just amusing to me. Like, did the people selling this even know what they're talking about? You know, like some of those bootleg toys out there that you say it's like D3PO. Wait, what? Now, looking at the time, I think we're going to stop it here. Don't worry, there'll be another episode coming up soon. It's just the next couple of questions, I think, have a little bit more time spent with them. So I want to make sure that those get into a separate little mini episode so I don't wind up making these extra long. And I'm slowly trying to get used to looking at this spot, right? The dot, not the screen that's showing me so I know what the hell's going on. But if you want to ask any questions for future mini Q&A episodes, feel free to put them in the comments down below. I will not answer them down there. I will answer them if I'm going to answer them within a mini Q&A episode. So, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your questions. Even if they haven't been answered yet, I appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next little mini Q&A.